Good evening. Welcome to the Southeast Tennessee Friday Night Pressbox podcast presented by Team FYN Sports. Joined now, as always, by Jeff Cate at the Jeff Cate on Twitter and the old ball coach, Coach Mark Stone. Guys, how are we?
I'm doing great. It's that second season.
Yep. Everybody goes back to 0-0, right? And looking to go 1-0 for, several weeks in a row leading up to, I think it's a week from like either yesterday or today where everybody's going to be converging in Chattanooga for the Blue Cross Bowl. But it all gets started on Friday night, 7 o'clock local time. We'll have a lot to talk about, as far as the playoffs go and kind of recap last week as well. Lots going on and lots going on here in the next few weeks. So I'm pumped about it. I know you guys are too.
Always. Playoff season's the best season. No matter what sports you're playing in, whether it's, football, basketball, baseball, it doesn't matter. That's what you play for right there. Let's talk a little bit about last week. Who got in, who missed the cut for the playoffs. We'll start a shocker. Maybe not a shocker. Sweetwater beats McMinn Central. Now, Sweetwater will go on the road to play at Giles County in that district. They get the 4th spot, as Brainerd also beats Signal Mountain. That's how Sweetwater snuck their way in. Jeff, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that game between Signal Mountain and Brainerd was a toss-up for a lot of people around here. I know that I had a hard time going back and forth on that one as well. But Brainerd has, they've had a pretty good, run the last couple of weeks. Obviously, they had a 4 overtime game against Ottawa, I believe, a few weeks ago, and you want to think, or are you thinking, hey, is that going to wear them out for this final big region game against Signal Mountain? And they definitely show that was not the case, and got a big win there, and Sweetwater taking care of business. And that's the thing, man. I mean, I don't know if there were necessarily many surprises as far as teams getting in. I think a lot of teams were locked in. A lot of playoff position moved last Friday, but like you just mentioned, that Sweetwater game, obviously, they got in just based on Brainerd, going out and taking care of Signal Mountain. So, that's definitely a big win for the Panthers, and obviously a big win for Sweetwater as well. Got them in the playoffs.
Coach Stone, I wouldn't say a shock that Coach Moody and the Chargers from McMinn Central missed the playoffs, but they've got something building up there.
I do. I talked to Coach Moody Monday night, and I think he's got something going. Got a lot of kids coming back. Coming back, and of course, I said it a long time ago. He was 2 months behind when he took the job because no spring practice and what he could do during the summertime and implementing this offense and certainly the new coaches and new things and new verbiage and everything. So I think they're going to be much better next year. They're going to get their own strength and conditioning program, going. And I think, McMinn Central's better days are ahead with Coach Moody.
And I think that's kind of, you mentioned, first-year coaches, guys like him and Goose Manning at Ottawa, that's a big thing, to be in your first year at any program, and I know Ottawa didn't have a winning record this year, but kind of like you can't dictate who your region opponents are. And Ottawa was able to take care of the one team they had to beat, and that was Howard, to sneak into the postseason. And if anything can happen, now granted they got a game against Powell on Friday night. It's going to be a very tough game. They won their region, and that's going to be a tall order to go up there and keep that game competitive. But guys like Manning and Coach Moody, like you guys have mentioned, if you're a first-year coach at a program and you still have a chance to get in the playoffs or at least be competing for a chance to get in, I mean, that's something definitely to hang your hat on, and it could be some big-time momentum builders going into the offseason for sure.
I think, when you're a first-year coach, a first-time head coach, there's so many things that's winding through your mind, just all sorts of things. That you got to get done and everything. And, these guys like Goose and Coach Moody and those guys, I think they're going to be fine. Central had 6 seniors, Wesley?
It was not many at all, 6 or 8.
And and I think they've got some fine young men coming up. So, we'll just look for better days ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we talked about a couple of first-year coaches there. Let's go to some veterans. Coach Herrig up at Loudon, they beat Kingston 28-7 to wrap up the 1 seed in that region, win that regular season championship. And Meigs County, Coach Fitzgerald at Meigs County, they go on the road to play Marion County last week and win 20-0. Jeff, that was the red zone game of the week, was it?
It was for sure. And the hype going into this game was 2 of the top 5 teams in the state of Tennessee in 2A, and both undefeated overall and in region play, and just tough physical, especially up front defensively. They've been preaching that all, they've been playing that way all season long, and those battles in this region in 2A were some great games, especially that Tyner-Meigs County game that came down to the final possession. And Tyner, barely lost that game to Meigs County. But, talking to Coach Fitzgerald after the game, I mean, pretty much what, it seemed like they were using that motivation where not everybody believed that they could go out there and compete with Marion County. Well, message delivered for sure over there in Jasper on Friday. The quarterback, Carroll, the senior quarterback from Meigs County, was in on all 3 scoring plays, 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown in the second half. And the defense did something that has not been done since October 2nd of last year, and that shut out Marion County. That's a tough thing to do, especially with Coach Pruitt at the helm there at Marion County. So, yeah, huge win for Coach Fitzgerald's team. I think they've extended their region winning streak. I think it was 27 now is the region winning streak for Coach Fitzgerald and the Meigs County Tigers. I think it's region championship number 5 in a row. So got a lot of momentum going into the postseason, and definitely a strong contender and a favorite to make the Blue Cross Bowl in 2A here in Chattanooga coming up at the beginning of December.
I just, these type ball games, the Loudon Kingston game, I thought it would be closer. I did think Loudon would win. Meigs and Marion County. Sometimes you get in those games and you are just about as evenly matched as you could be. And sometimes one team lays an egg. I don't know if you kind of get overhyped. I've been in those ball games on both sides where we've ended, we've won one, we've won 2 or 3 and we've lost 2 or 3 like that. And I always tried to, say on Monday, look, we're not playing today. We're not playing tomorrow. We're not playing Wednesday. We're not playing Thursday. We got to be ready to go at 7:30 on Friday. And sometimes we would play the game, on Tuesday. Best practice of the year. Many, many times. Best practice of the year we have, and then we go out and lay an egg on Friday night. And I've also been on those things where Tuesday, Wednesday, it was the most terrible thing in the world. We absolutely looked like we couldn't even get out there and line up and stretch correctly and go out and score 49 points and hold the other teams to nothing. So, I don't put a whole lot of emphasis, unless, just like Jeff said, it's a new season right now.
Well, guys, we're going to get into this a lot more in segments 2 and 3. But Jeff, I know you've got the bracket. Is there a game that really just catches your eye? Starting this week with anybody. We kind of talked about this before we start recording. Walker Valley and Carnes. I think that's probably the game that catches most people's eye.
Yeah, I mean, as far as if you're looking for that one game where, the lower seed is going to knock off the higher seed, I think that game, to me, just kind of stands out to me. Obviously Walker Valley has not had the season they had last year, but at the same time, they're in the postseason, and, they can still score points, and, depending on the right matchup, they can, definitely go toe-to-toe with anybody. So I think this might be one of those for sure. And, just looking around, I mean, we can definitely dig more into those as we go through each classification and region. But, yeah, right off the bat, that'd be the one game I would point to where I could see a local team as a lower seed knocking off the higher seed on Friday.
I kind of look at some of these. A lot of times I'll look at this, the first round, and, I may say, I may see something there that I think 1 through 4 is going to beat the other regions 1 through 4. Because sometimes it just comes out that way, and I haven't seen that yet in looking at all these, but I'm, that's quite a possibility.
It is. It's quite the possibility. But you look at playoffs of the past or years in the past, anybody can beat anybody. I mean, any given Friday night in the playoffs, anybody can beat anybody. I go back to 2 years ago. McMinn County hosted Bearden. It's freezing cold, and McMinn was, they beat them by 25 in the regular season. And Bearden comes down there to Athens and beats McMinn County. So any given Friday night, anybody can beat anybody.
McMinn Central's been in the Blue Cross Bowl one time, and that football team ended up 4-6, number 4, and they went right through the gambit. They won 4 games. They was 8-6, and they lost in the finals, and they were 8-7. But I think as I remember that football team, Coach Wild and those guys, it's just it was a flip of a switch. It seemed to me like, they got the breaks. They got Kingston in a mud bath over here in the semifinals, and they just played better than King. They could play better in the mud than Kingston could. They went to Grundy County. Grundy County was probably a better football team than them, and they got the breaks. And that's football. And Central went from a kind of a dismal football season, 4-6, to end up 8-7, being second in the state. So that can happen starting Friday.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that, Coach, before we go down kind of a list of finals from last Friday, one local, or not one local, but one more recent example of that, like you guys were mentioning, any given Friday night, as we'll say, instead of any given Sunday. A few years ago, Whitwell, back in the 2019 playoffs, they went 2-8 during the regular season. And what do? They beat the number 1 team. I think it was Monterey. Let me go back and look at the schedule real quick. Yeah, they won at Monterey, who went during the regular season undefeated, and Whitwell goes over there and gets a first-round playoff win after winning 2 games the whole season. So, that just goes to show right there, anything can happen this time of year. And like I just mentioned, it just all depends on these matchups, man. If they're catching a team at the right time, whether it's injuries or just schematically, if they match up well with them, anything can happen. So, definitely a lot to look forward to. And, like I said in the opening, guys, it's my favorite time of year. And, you can talk about should these under 500 teams be in the playoffs. That's a whole nother discussion. We know why there's that many teams in the playoffs, but, you have a chance, and Whit will definitely show that anything is definitely possible back in 2019.
Yep, correct. Guys, before we get into segments 2 and 3, where we run down a lot of the games from the Southeast Tennessee area, we're going to bring back a little fun, a little start, bench, cut action, Coach Stone. So what we've got on the docket tonight, start, bench, cut, we go playoffs. So we're going to take a little Stemsy approach at this. Favorite concession stand food or best concession stand food when you're at the football game this Friday night. Start, bench, cut, hot dog, nachos, or the cheeseburger. Jeff, Kate, you go first.
Can you repeat those for me, please, sir?
Hot dog, nachos with cheese, or the hamburger.
Let's see. I will definitely start. Definitely start the hamburger. Because it's like when you come into a high school game, I say it all the time when I'm on the red zone. Following the smoke trail, right? Well, the smoke trail is coming from the grill whatever high school you're at. So I'll definitely start that. I would definitely bench the hot dog because hot dogs. It just depends. Like if you overcook it, it can definitely dry the thing out. It's just not as good. And then I hate to cut it, but nachos, I mean, that's a, that's just a standard, concession food period. At least with, hamburgers and hot dogs, that you do take into effect that, take into account the different seasonings, the temperatures on it, and kind of how they're prepared. So those would be my 3 for sure.
Coach Stone.
I'm I'm cutting nachos and cheese. I mean, the time you get back to your seat, you got it all over you. You got cheese dripping off everywhere, and it's in your, So I'm cutting cutting nachos and cheese. Going with I got to go with I got to start the hot dog, and bench the hamburger. But I hadn't been in. I've had a chance in the last 2 years to be in some good concession stands, but I hadn't had a whole lot. But there was, and I can't think right off the top of my head, there was a place that we used to play at, and I wished I could think of it. And when we'd get there, I'd tell my managers, I'd give them about $20. I'd say, go get me hot dogs, and I'd always carry my Diet Mountain Dews with me, and go get me hot dogs, and don't you bring it back around none of these other coaches, because I'm gonna go around here inside the building. I'm gonna eat all of them.
So whenever I think about this, we're talking about later in the year, first week of the playoffs. It's a little cold. I'm going to start the hot dog because I think hot dog is just it's more of a football food than a cheeseburger is. I feel like you get a cheeseburger, not even at a baseball game, really. A hot dog and a Cracker Jacks at a baseball game. But I'm going to go start the hot dog. I'm going to bench the nachos. Here's my reasoning why. If the cheese is hot enough, that'll warm you up a little bit on a cool night. But now the cheese has to be hot. If the cheese is not hot, you just wasted $4 at the concession stand given to the marching band or whoever's in there doing it. And then I will cut the hamburger, because you can eat a hamburger anywhere, and you get $1 hamburger on the way back in McDonald's drive-thru.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing I liked when I was at Copper Basin, play down there in Chattanooga. Our equipment truck drivers, I'd say, we're down here, Krispy Kreme's right up the road here now. Stop and get us a couple of hamburgers and bring them back, and get all that set up. When we get back, and we're sitting around talking about the ball game. At least we can eat 3 or 4 dozen of donuts, Have a good time.
Oh, well, that's start bench cut is probably going to be a fixture in our every week podcast from now on. As we get closer to, we did Thanksgiving foods and candies last week, concession food this week. We'll probably get into something else.
Hey guys, let me tell you a quick story. You guys are probably too young to remember George Caffigo. You ever heard of him? Played at the University of Tennessee, was a kicking coach. And some of the coaches, like Coach Fuller and them, I was there one Saturday, and there was this box over here, and it had a lid on. Coach Caffigo was probably in his 70s. He'd come by and swap a big hot dog up there and put some mustard on it and eat it. All them coaches, the coaches were, he worked for Coach Majors, and he was, all of them was nervous and tight and everything. I said, what's he doing? He said, those coaches would say, there's about 40 hot dogs directly from the concession stand, and he eats them things. So he said, time we leave here tonight, he'll have every one of them eat. Then the rest of them, they said we couldn't eat the things if we had to.
I tell you what's good is a good smoky dog up there from Needham.
It is.
He's right through the middle of it.
It is.
Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with segment 2, previewing some football games in the area. We'll take a quick commercial break on the Friday Night Pressbox presented by Team FYN Sports. Welcome back to the Southeast Tennessee Friday Night Pressbox podcast presented by Team FYN Sports. Got a list of games here that feature some local teams. One of them we've already talked about just a little bit, but let me run through the games I've got on this segment for us. Cleveland goes to West Ridge. Alcoa and Johnson County. I mentioned that one because of a forfeit. Johnson County forfeits. Alcoa automatically gets into the next round of the playoffs.
No surprise there, huh, guys?
No, I mean, I wouldn't want to play Alcoa either.
That aggravates me, though. I cannot. As a coach, that aggravates me. You should have said earlier that I'm not going to play if we get into playoffs. Somebody else want to go. And I know, you're playing the big bad wolf up there, but still, Alcoa deserves a football game.
You hate that for the seniors. I mean, the guys have made the playoffs, and then you just don't play. You hate that. DeKalb County goes on the road to play East Hamilton there on Hurricane Hill. And then we talked about West Virginia. I saw WV on my piece of paper there. Walker Valley goes on the road to play Carnes. If West Virginia's playing Carnes, I would take West Virginia any day of the week. But Walker Valley goes on the road to play Carnes. Those 4 games there, Walker Valley and Carnes probably sticks out the most. But Jefferson County is not a bad football team either, coming in at 6-4, playing Bradley Central on the road. So Bradley Central is going to have a test there early. Coach Stone, we kind of talked about this before the recording as well. Bradley Central, if they can continue, progressing and playing good football, they've got a pretty good matchup all the way up until they would potentially play Maryville there in the finals.
One of the things that I've been thinking about, and is what offenses has these other teams been seeing? Have they been seeing 2 tight ends, an I backfield with a wing back, and just running right at them, or have they seen these offenses that's got 4 and 5 wide, and big old offensive linemen? What have they been seeing? And that kind of there's just some places that I just think that's the style of offenses that they run. And can you put 5 and 6 defensive backs out there in your defense? And then again, I guess you can turn it around. Bradley's seen a lot of spread offense, and can you turn it around? Them pile up in there 2 or 3 tight ends, and and just mash the ball at you, and you stop them. So I think that's important, particularly in these first round games.
It's just like Ray County. Ray County runs that wing T. These guys in the playoffs, you've only got a week to prepare for that. That's going to be tough.
Have you seen Ray County? I saw them at Bradley, and they get in the huddle, and they call the play, and they're about 4 yards from the ball, and they sprint to the ball, get down, and snap it. And any adjustments that you got to make, it's fast. I mean, that dadgum fullback down there at Bradley that night, he was hitting it before Bradley was ready. He was just, and it's, there again, I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's that has been a Coach Pemberton staple for as long as I can remember, man, for sure. Just quick to the ball, and like you said, I think the young man you were talking about, Coach Stone, I think if I'm thinking correctly, that kid is only a sophomore. So think about that. The performance he put up against Bradley Central. Now, granted, I do know Bradley Central is missing a few key pieces on their offensive line, but for him to do what he did to that 6A defense definitely shows a lot of prowess. That's another game I'm looking forward to kind of seeing as well. That's going to be our game of the week on the Red Zone is Ray County taking on Campbell County. I kind of want to see, Campbell County has had some success. They defeated Carnes. We were talking about earlier on, and just it's going to be interesting to see. You know, it's going to be there at Bill Horton Field there in Evansville. It's going to be a great atmosphere. And going back to that 6A region y'all were talking about, Bradley Central and teams like that. Obviously, Science Hill is in that region, that 6A region. They won that region. They're taking on Farragut, and Bradley Central, they take care of business. They take on the winner of that game. But like we mentioned before, the prize in the quarterfinal round is that team in Maryville, who is pretty much just like one of the biggest well-oiled machines in the state of Tennessee, probably the country as well. So, but yeah, just but like you said, I mean, if the matchups are right, there's some injuries, or if turnovers start happening, anything can happen. But yeah, just we'll definitely see how Bradley Central does in there. But yeah, I wanted to mention that in 5A. I know we're going to go through classification by classification, but yeah, that Ray County Campbell County game, I kind of want to see how, if Ray County is able to kind of continue that momentum they had at the end of the year and carry that on into the first couple weeks of the playoffs.
You hear coaches all the time, we can't simulate that. And I guarantee you it would be so, it would be, I think, a little bit easier with a 5A and a 4A, and, if you've got numbers of kids. But I tell you, the first play of the ball game, they snapped it, and I didn't even see it. I was looking out there, and I was looking to see what was what, and looking at Bradley's secondary, and all of a sudden here comes this running back through the secondary, and I guess Bradley finally, settled down to it, but there's not a lot of you can't make any, Roger, Louis calls and all this stuff, because you better be there, and they're going to cause you to be a base defense the whole ball game.
Any worry for East Hamilton this Friday night? Jeff DeKalb County comes in to play East Hamilton.
I mean, I guess it just depends on kind of what East Hamilton team shows up. Obviously, the team that had that big big blowout win last week, or the one 2 weeks ago, that Red Bank kind of showed, hey, if you're able to put a clamp on their high-powered offense, you're going to have really major success for sure. But I think East Hamilton definitely moves on, and kind of get things back on track. I know Coach Reynolds is definitely going to have his team ready, and I think they definitely take care of business, especially at home.
And then Cleveland plays West Ridge. I don't know much about West Ridge, but I can see Cleveland, with the athletes that they have, probably continuing on in the playoffs.
I mean, obviously, since we're in this first round thing, we can pull for our local teams, right, since they're playing these out of town teams. But yeah, I think West Ridge, I think they definitely get the win. But it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Cleveland, be sneaky and sneak up on those teams. And it's kind of been hit or miss for Cleveland this year. They got off to that hot start, like we talked about a few times, with kind of surprising Red Bank, because I think everybody in this area, including myself, picked Red Bank to continue their ways from last year. But Cleveland went over there and said, "Hey, not so fast," But they've had some success, this year, and have, played Bradley Central tight until a couple of turnovers late in that game kind of was able to give the Bears enough advantage they had to get a win over their rival. But I mean, I just looking top to bottom, I think West Ridge takes care of business. But I definitely want to see Cleveland move on for sure.
Is West Ridge a new school? Is it new this year?
Mm-mm.
I'm not sure.
No. Yeah, they play in that region with Science Hill, Jefferson County, and Dobbins Bennett. So
okay.
you talk about teams that get you ready for the playoffs. That's another region right there. I mean, obviously, if especially up in the Tri-Cities area, Dobbins Bennett and Science Hill, those teams go at it for sure. And that's a great region for that region 2, 6A region with Bradley Central, Maryville, and Cleveland to be matched up with in the playoffs. So there are some great physical matchups in that game as well. A lot of offense too.
Jeff, I know you've got the bracket there in front of you. Other than the games that we've talked about, let's run through one of those regions here. About 10 minutes left in this segment.
Well, man, let's just, we'll knock out some of these for sure. We'll kind of start in 1A if you want to. We'll start from 1 and go all the way to Division 2 if you want to do that for sure. Let's see, the Region 3 1A champion was South Pittsburgh. Obviously, we knew they take care of business. They're going to be hosting Red Boiling Springs. That is over at South Pittsburgh. I don't think South Pitt has any trouble there. Sale Creek, what another great story. We talked about them a few times on this podcast before. They got a tough game against Clay County. That's on the road Friday night. And, think about this, guys. It's a Region 4 number 2 seed, Clay County. They went 9-1 on the year. So you do the math. They're in that same region with Gordonsville. Like we mentioned before, Coach, you kind of brought them up as well. We'll kind of see how Coach Ron Cox's team is able to do in their playoff appearance against Clay County. Whitwell, another great story. They get to host a playoff game, I think, for the first time since their state championship run back in 2018. They're going to be hosting Joe Burns at 5-5. And then the other matchup involving local teams in this area, like you mentioned earlier, Coach, Copper Basin playing tomorrow night at Gordonsville. That's a 7:00 kickoff tomorrow night at Gordonsville. I think Gordonsville, kind of ends the Copper Basin season there for sure. So I don't think there's any real surprises that could sneak up there. But like we mentioned with that 2019 Whitwell first round game, anything's possible. I just don't see any major surprises there.
I don't see anything. I think South Pittsburgh's going to take care of business. I voiced my opinion to you guys. I don't like this having to go to the same region every year. With Copper Basin, that's almost an 11th game, season game for them to go and play them. And I just wish they would look at it, switch it up a little bit. Not worry about the money.
Well, money talks, right, for sure. But let's go into this tier region, Wes. I know we were talking about this before we got going. Some very interesting matchups here as well, and another one that we kind of talked about here that could be a surprise. We'll get to that one here in just a second. But Meigs County, we talked about them, region champions for the 5th straight year. They are hosting East Robertson. They are 5-5 on the year. East Robertson is that should be a Meigs County win. I think you guys will agree with that. The other game right below there, the winner of that game will take on the winner of this one. Trousdale County at 8-1, the number 2 seed in Region 4 2A, hosting the 3rd seed out of Region 3 2A, the Tyner Rams at 7-3. I think that could be an interesting game there between those two because, and you think back to last year, that was the game where Tyner had their season ended, and then the whole drama with Coach Turner losing his job. I could see that being used as motivation for Coach Chandler and that team to say, hey, let's go exercise those demons and come back with a win and have another chance at Meigs County. I definitely would like to see those two teams face off once again after, if that first matchup during the regular season is any indication, then I think we would definitely see another classic game between those two teams. And the other two games involving those local teams, Westmoreland, the number 3 seed in 4 in the Region 4, 3-7 on the year, traveling to Marion County to take on the Warriors. I think Marion County definitely rebounds from last week's loss and takes care of business in the first round. And then another team, a team that won to get into the playoffs, defeating Polk County, Bledsoe County, the final seed in Region 3 2A at 5-3. They are going to the number 1 seed out of Region 4 2A in Watertown. Both teams have had 3 losses on the year. Bledsoe County, like I mentioned, 5-3. Watertown 7-3. I would almost have to give the slight edge to Watertown in that one. I could see Bledsoe keeping it close, but you guys see any major surprises in there besides, I guess, the Trousdale Tyner possible upset alert?
I think you're right there. Trousdale Tyner, it's a hard place to play over there at Trousdale. It's a hard place, and you better be on your game when you get there because they really play well. But I really don't see any surprises that's going to come up there.
Yeah,
Wes, go ahead, Wes. Sorry.
Takes care of business. That Tyner Trousdale game is going to be, it's going to be good. I think Marion County also takes care of business in that region there. I don't see any surprises, but that Tyner and Trousdale County game is going to be one to watch for sure.
Yep, and honestly, I definitely want to see Tyner knock off Trousdale, but if Trousdale gets the win there at home, Meigs and Trousdale, man, that'd be a great second round matchup because they've had some classics in the last couple of years. Now, granted, those teams met in the semifinal round, and with the region reclassification, they're meeting. Obviously, they would meet in week 2, but I definitely would not mind seeing that matchup. But I definitely want to see another Meigs and Tyner matchup in the postseason. But I know we got about 5 minutes left in this segment, Wes, so we'll just knock out 3 and 4A real quick. Region 3A, you talked about Loudon. They're the 1 seed in Region 3A. They're hosting a 2-6 Grundy County team. Loudon should definitely roll in that one, I think, for sure. Wes, you mentioned this one. I think this is definitely one to keep your eye on as well. The number 2 seed in Region 4 3A, Camden County, 5-4 on the year, hosting the 3rd seed out of Region 3 3A, Signal Mountain at 6-4 on the year. And the other 2 games in this kind of this bracket pod, Sequatchie County 4-6 on the year, the number 3 seed out of Region 4 traveling to Kingston to take on that team as a away game for the Sequatchie County team. That they definitely had a nice rebound to their year to get in the postseason. And then, like you mentioned, Sweetwater, they're going on the road to take on Giles County. I don't really see any major surprises. I think Signal Mountain could get the win at Cannon County. I think, Wes, I think you said that's going to be quite a haul for Coach Roberts' team. Any surprises in that one as we go into 3A?
No, I see Loudon winning big against Grundy County. Cannon County and Signal Mountain is going to be I think that'll be a good football game. Coach Roberts can give Cannon County a run for their money. I really like that matchup for Signal Mountain. Kingston playing at home against Sequatchie County. Kingston, I'm telling you right now, Kingston east to west is probably one of the fastest football teams I've seen all year. And east to west, they can beat you, like that. A snap of the finger. They do a lot of swing passes, an extension of the run game, get their playmakers in space. They do a good job of doing that. And then Sweetwater's got to go on the road to Giles County. Giles County 9-0 on the year. It's going to be a long bus ride to and from for Sweetwater.
Giles County, I looked them up. They look to be like a scoring machine.
Yeah.
They put up a lot of points. I don't know what they do, but they put up a lot of points. And they're going to have to be on their game.
Absolutely.
But let's knock out this 4A region involving our local teams before we go to our next break. Obviously, we knew kind of what Red Bank's story is. With that win over East Hamilton, that gave them the tiebreaker, and they got the 1 seed in Region 3 4A. They are hosting Stone Memorial. I think Red Bank take care of business, but that could be a close game if Red Bank allows it to be. Here, another interesting game. We've had a couple of these 3-2 matchups, guys, that have been toss-ups or upsets alert. Macon County, the number 2 team in Region 4 4A at 7-3, they are hosting Central 6-2 on the year and the 3rd seed out of the Region 3 4A. I think Central could definitely get on the road and get a win there because and that would set up another rematch with Red Bank and Central did knock off Red Bank early in the year. Red Bank had a bunch of turnovers in that game, so I'm sure Coach Brown they're looking to Stone Memorial first, but I could see that game definitely happening, and that would be a good way to have 2 Chattanooga teams playing the second round of the playoffs. Like Wes, like you mentioned, DeKalb County, the 3 seed out of Region 4 4A, traveling to Hurricane Hill to take on Coach Reynolds' East Hamilton Hurricanes there. I think East Hamilton takes care of business there at home. And then another team that kind of got into the playoffs, had a nice end of their season. Coach Justin Barnes and the Saudi Daisy Trojans, they are going on the road to take on 9-1 Upperman. They were the champions of Region 4 4A. I guess if you're looking at, quote, upsets, I guess you could definitely point to that Central game. I think they could definitely do that. What do you guys think? Any other surprises, or is that the only one that could be a surprise technically?
I see Chattanooga Central giving Macon County all they want and more. Even though it's on the road, Chattanooga Central could pull this one off.
You're talking about Saudi Daisy. I'd about give up on them. And then Saturday morning, I look up, and they're in the playoffs. I really didn't give them a hill of beans chance to get in the playoffs. But you go back to that Central game. Central could be somebody that shocks this bracket.
Well, like I mentioned before, when Coach Kurt Jones took the job, they had a lot of underclassmen, and a couple of years later, I think they returned like 20 of the 22 starters. So obviously a lot of experience on this Central Pounder football team, and I kind of want to see how the experience plays off. No pun intended, into a playoff setting. So we'll definitely see. I could see that game going against them just based on the experience factor alone, and just the amount of games they play in that playoff atmosphere. They haven't had many of that for sure. So, but I could definitely see that one being a, quote, upset alert in the Pounders' favor.
We've run through quite a few brackets here, but we've got more to run through.
More to come, baby. Let's do it.
Got more to come, and we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with those remaining bracket. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Southeast Tennessee Friday Night Pressbox podcast presented by Team FYN Sports. Jeff, let's just keep on rolling.
We got 5A, 6A, Division II AA, Division II AAA. Let's dive right into it, right? The higher classifications we get, doesn't necessarily mean higher grade football, but a lot of great matchups here coming up in the next few weeks. We're back in the 5A region right here. Like we mentioned, Ottawa Owls, they got in as the 4 seed in Region 4 5A. They are going on the road to take on the champion there in Region 3, and that's Powell. Powell's a really good football team. I got to see them last year against Walker Valley. They got a lot of athletes, a lot of great fan support as well. I don't see Ottawa, coming back to exit 11 with the win there, but stranger things have happened for sure. But and then the other matchups involving our local teams in this playoff pod or bracket. McMinn County, obviously the number 2 seed in Region 4 5A, 7-3 on the year, hosting an Oak Ridge team that has gone 3-7. I can't. I'm trying to think back to last time I remember Oak Ridge being less than 500 in the playoffs. I cannot recall that, because everybody knows the history of Oak Ridge football, one of the great powers in East Tennessee and the state of Tennessee, period. So I think McMinn County would definitely take care of business there at home against the Oak Ridge Wildcats. The other two games, this one we mentioned quite a bit. Walker Valley going on the road to Knoxville to take on the Carnes Beavers. Walker Valley 5-5 on the year, Carnes 6-4. And then the game I'll be at, like we mentioned earlier, Campbell County, the 6-4, number 4 seed in Region 3 5A, is going to take on Coach Pemberton's Ray County Golden Eagles there in Evansville. That should be an interesting matchup. Doesn't happen very often. The fifth, I looked it up. It's like the 5th or 6th game that they played all the time. And that's what I love about these playoff games, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it means a whole lot, but you get to see matchups you don't see, once every 5 or 10 years. So besides that Walker Valley Carnes game, I don't really see anything that jumps off the page. I mean, that could be an upset. What do you guys think?
I think McMinn County is going to have to be ready. Oak Ridge is Oak Ridge. And, I think they're going to have to be on point. And I think Coach Cagle will have them ready. People, who does Powell play?
They are taking on Ottawa.
Ottawa and Powell, number 1 defensive lineman in America, plays for Powell. And I'm telling you, you watch some highlights on that kid. He is disruptive. Mm-hmm. You better have him taken care of. But here's where I think this classification is where we might find some upsets. Somewhere along the way. I don't know where they are. Campbell County, Campbell County they've put up some numbers through the years, so you don't know what kind of football team you're going to run in there. They're very well coached, playing a very tough region. So everybody's got to be ready.
Just moving on to that 6A region. We talked about that. It's kind of murderer's row there as far as really good programs and just tradition-rich programs. Not involving local teams, but I'll mention it since they're in this pod. Science Hill, they're taking on Farragut. Farragut, kind of another team, kind of like Oak Ridge, that had a below 500 year. You're not used to seeing that. Farragut making the playoffs. It wasn't that long ago. They were winning a state championship, there. So kind of an interesting game between Science Hill and Farragut. They would take on the winner of this one, Bradley Central and Jefferson County. I think Bradley Central gets the job done there at home. Cleveland taking on West Ridge. We talked about that just a little bit. Cleveland 6-4 on the year. West Ridge, the number 2 seed in Region 1 6A at 8-2. Like I said, And then the last game in this pod, Dobbins Bennett and Maryville, a really good quote name game here for sure. Dobbins Bennett 7-3, the number 4 seed in that Region 1 6A region. That goes to tell you how strong that region is. If your number 4 seed is 7-3 overall, that tells you how strong it is. Taking on the 10-0 Region 2 6A champions, Maryville University. I mean, the Maryville Rebels there. So I don't see anything that jumps off the page at me that could be an upset there in that first round here in these 4 games. I think all the favorites and home teams should take care of business. What do you guys think?
I think Cleveland might have, they might have the chance to pull it off, but I look for everything else to be status quo. Maryville. The Maryville Rebels are just going to keep marching right here.
Yeah, Maryville big over Dobbins Bennett. Cleveland's got the best chance. I'd say West Ridge is a team on upset alert in that pod there. Bradley Central should beat Jefferson County, and then Science Hill and Farragut. That one can be a good football game. Farragut's got athletes all over the field, and Science Hill, granted Science Hill with a 7-3 record, as does Dobbins Bennett. Like Jeff said, that just proves how tough that district is there.
Well, that's no doubt about it. I mean, you just go down through there. Most districts got some 1-9, 2-8 in the playoffs, and here this one is, they're number 4. Number 4 is Dobbins Bennett, 7-3. A lot of years you wouldn't even want to play Dobbins Bennett.
Yeah.
But we've covered, for the most part, all these are our public school regions. Let's dip down into Division 2 if we can, guys. There's not a single A or Division 2 single A team in our coverage area, so we're going to jump into this Division 2 double A. 3 teams in this area made it, and that was Chattanooga Christian. They got a win over Knox Webb, who was a really good football team. I think they won the region. So, I mean, they're the East number 1 seed. Now, obviously, if for people not familiar with with this Division 2 AA format, there's a West and East and a middle, classification, right? So you're going to have a West number 1, middle number 1, East number 1. Well, Knox Webb was the East number 1 team, and Chattanooga Christian. We talked about teams everybody written off. I think Chattanooga Christian was one of these teams as well. They get an 11-point win last Friday to get into the playoffs, and they're going to be taking on the number 3 seed in the Middle Tennessee region in BGA at 5-5. I mean, the way Chattanooga Christian's kind of been playing the last few weeks, and you look at this team, and this looks like a fairly even matchup. I could see Coach Mariakis' squad going on the road and getting a win there against BGA, and then another team kind of the same boat. We kind of not many people kind of talked about this year, Boyd Buchanan. They were able to get into the playoffs, and we know kind of the tradition that Boyd Buchanan has. And the Coach Boskin did a great job to get his team into the postseason. They got the final seed, the East number 5 seed, but they're taking on a CPA team at 8-2, the middle number 2 seed in that region. So that's going to be a tough game for the Buccaneers to go on the road and get a win there. And the last team in this area that is in the playoffs here is the Silverdale Seahawks. They had a great regular season, but they kind of brought back down to earth, taking on CAK last week. CAK got a 35-0 win in Knoxville against Silverdale last year, and that loss was big in 2 ways for Silverdale. Obviously, it's their second loss of the year. It also knocked them out of a home playoff game. They're going to have to go on the road to take on they're having to go to Lipscomb Academy. It's a neutral site game, technically, for the Seahawks. They're taking on a North Point Christian team. North Point Christian 5-5 in the year. Like I just mentioned, Silverdale is 8-2 as the number 3 seed in the East Division 2 AA region. So, and then what's your consolation? If you win that game, you get to go back to Lipscomb Academy and take on Lipscomb Academy and Coach Trent Dilfer's squad the week after. So, kind of interested to see kind of how Silverdale is able to respond after pretty much getting, they got mercy ruled last week against a team that dominated them last year. They dominated them this year as well. And I don't know how CAK did not win that region because they are stacked. I could see them doing some damage in the playoffs for sure. So anything that jumps off the page at you guys besides, I guess, that Chattanooga Christian possible upset alert there?
I really, I agree with you, Chattanooga Christian, possibly, but I think that's all. It's kind of set what it's going to be for next week.
Yep, I agree. And then I think Silverdale wins, and then I think they have to go back to Lipscomb Academy and play, like you said, Trent Dilfer's team. But man, that'd be back-to-back weeks going to Lipscomb Academy.
Yeah, and talking to some of the people that I know, they're kind of connected to the Silverdale program. Obviously, I know a little bit about them, but they're going to be considered the home team. So they're bringing their PA guy, they're bringing a guy to run the scoreboard. So I mean, that's kind of a way. You got to take care of business during the regular season, right? Because if they would have gotten a win or beaten Knox Webb, that was a close game to the region champion there. They would have been hosting a playoff game as opposed to having to go possibly to Nashville twice in a span of 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens there. But let's move on to more than likely the most talent-rich region in this playoffs, the Division II AAA playoffs here. The only two teams around here that are in this region. I guess let's start off with the team that's actually playing on Friday night. They captured the number 6 seed in the East region, the Baylor Red Raiders, 6-4 on the year. They are going to go on the road to take on the West number 3 seed in Innsworth. Innsworth was 7-3 on the year as well. And I guess you look and these two teams met in the second week of the year early on, guys, and Innsworth got a 52-28 win over Baylor in the early part of the year. So I kind of want to see how is Baylor able to kind of cut the gap a little bit. They're going to rely on Caleb Hampton quite a bit, and hopefully that their defense can really kind of hold Innsworth to under 50 points, or it's likely going to be the same way. Any chance Baylor gets the win there on the road Friday night, guys?
Be tough.
Tall order.
I understand Innsworth is loaded. That's going to be like I said, tall order to pull one off there. And
obviously, the team that we've talked about quite a bit with the best chance to win a state championship this year, the 10-0 McCallie Blue Tornado. They have a bye week this week. Obviously, winning that East region and being the best team. I'm going out on a limb by saying this for sure. The best team in the state of Tennessee, in my opinion, for sure. Right. So, the way, let's see here. I'm looking at the bracket here, guys. They would take on the winner of Father Ryan and Memphis University School. Both of those teams are 6-4 on the year. They are meeting Friday at 7:00 local time. Again, that they would meet McCallie at McCallie a week from Friday at 7:00 there at Spears Stadium. So, I guess that kind of wraps it up. I guess the only other team we want to kind of talk about playoff-wise, Wes, you mentioned this before the game, and I mentioned it a couple of times on the Red Zone on Friday, was the Grace Baptist Golden Eagles. They are taking the field. They got a playoff win in the 8-man football league last Friday, and they're guaranteed. When we talked to Coach Ateka, a few weeks ago, they're already qualified for the national tournament. So, but they're still wanting to win a state championship, and they have a chance to do that Friday. I think it's against Lancaster Christian, who we talked about.
Lancaster Christian and Grace Baptist. Now this is the 8-man football. This is not full. This is 8-man football. That game will be played at Ezel Hardy.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's 8 or 11. I know it's definitely going to be a huge deal for those guys. And I think I can safely say every person on this show is going to be pulling for the Golden Eagles to go over there and take care of business. And I wish this game was here. I know it's got to be a neutral site game for a state playoff game, especially I guess the 8-man league. But just big time. Good luck to the Grace Golden Eagles. I know we're definitely pulling for those guys. One of the probably up there in the top 2 or 3 stories in our area, obviously with what they went through with the tornado and not having, I think I mentioned when he was here, it's like they're renting a house instead of having a house they own, obviously with their construction projects going on, not just for athletics, but the school and the church over there at Grace Baptist. So, definitely pulling for those guys. And what a way for them to go in the national tournament with a state championship. So hopefully they get the job done for sure.
Well, I said when Coach Attica was on here with us, that's the smartest thing they've done. They could probably try to play 11-man football and just waller around, and get beat down and this, that, and the other. And hopefully, within a year or so, maybe next year, they're back, competing in the TSSAA 11-man football, and they're making some progress.
I mean, if you kind of want to, mirror off another program, the only one I could kind of compare that to is look at this team right here, Silverdale. It was not that long ago where Silverdale was having a hard time getting 20 to 30 kids on the roster, but it takes I guess new facilities obviously helps, and just getting the right kind of athlete to go through your school and come out and play football. I mean, and now look at the team they have, with Connor DeLashman and Turner Junkins and all those kids. Just have a great season, 8-2 on the year. I mean, you never know. I mean, it's like a right mix. You got to mix all those ingredients together to make kind of the perfect recipe right there. So anything's possible. But Coach, like you said, just the right thing at the right time to have for Grace to have some kind of success and something they can hang their hat on. And obviously, it's a big thing, big source of pride for not just the program but the entire community over there for sure.
And then not only in this state title game, I mentioned this next week and weeks to come. I'm not sure when that national championship weekend that it is. I don't know when it is for them. Best of luck in the state title game, and best of luck to them in that national tournament. Where's that at? Orlando?
It's somewhere in Central Florida. Yeah, I'll have to go back. Whenever we get.
I think it's in Orlando.
We'll have to go back and kind of look and just see kind of the format, because I remember Coach saying like it's almost like they're playing. It's almost like March Madness. They're playing a game every few days, and used to playing it once every 7 days. That's another kind of a wrench in the plans for sure. But I mean, with the athletes Grace has had, and they've been able to put up a bunch of points and kind of hold teams at will. I mean, I like their chances.
I think while you're down there, you play 3 games to win it. If I'm not mistaken, it's like 3 games in 4 days.
Well, I'm just going to go out there and say, if somebody needs me to go down there to Central Florida and cover the Grace Golden Eagles, Talk Radio 102.3, whoever's listening to this, I would love to provide me, even Wes and Coach Stone. We could definitely provide the coverage for the Eagles. I mean, it has nothing to do with Central Florida weather in November compared to where it is here.
Oh yeah,
it's all about being professional, bringing the story to you.
Jeff Cate, play-by-play, Coach Mark Stone, color analyst, Wes Dunkel, sideline reporter. We could have this going, boys.
Is that start bench cut?
Start bench cut. Jeff Cate, play-by-play, Stone, color guy, and Wes Dunkel.
Come on, I want to be down on the field so I can get some sunlight.
Well, all I'm going to say is if Tal was on the prowl, we would definitely cut him. So
yeah, we'd cut. Tal's not going to Florida.
No, we want to. I think I'm not real sure that Tal's even alive right now.
He may not be. Who knows?
He's getting geared up for that big Fannin County, Dade County region showdown Friday night, and if Tal would give us some gas money, I would definitely go cover that for the Red Zone. But obviously he doesn't show up, so he's not going to do anything. So
I'd go down there and just sit with him if he let me.
Tal's got a home game coming up. He's got to be on top
of the prowl.
Tal's going to be on the prowl. So, but guys, I've had fun talking some playoffs with you guys, and we look forward to recapping this week and previewing next week on next week's show. Be sure to like this, and share it. And we always thank you guys for listening. So for Jeff Cate, Coach Stone, I'm Wes Dunkel. You guys have a good night.